Hello, good evening and welcome to Eye on Port. The program is proudly brought to you by Goil Company Limited. That's the nation's #1 oil marketing company. Also the nation's Revenue Authority and the nation's Ports and Harbours Authority are our proud sponsors of this program. The nation's #1 insurer when it comes to international trade, Serene Insurance, is also a proud sponsor of the program. Business and Financial Times, the nation's #1 business newspaper, is also a proud partner of this program. So if you get a copy of the Thursday edition of the Business and Financial Times, you should read almost everything that happens on this platform, as well as the schedules of the vessels that bring in your cargo into this country. They can be found in that edition of the newspaper as we present them here on this platform as well for you. Tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on GH1, you should watch a abridged version of this program. Also on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. you should watch an abridged version of this program on Ghana Television or the GTV. So today we're going to look at the impact of the reopening of the Kotoka International Airport to passengers, not cargo, because cargo was already open way back then. It has always been opened. But to passengers, whether we can see any impact it has on general cargo trading itself. So both the cargo coming from air, cargo coming from sea, and cargo coming from land. And we'd also look at the impact that would also have on sea and land trade as well, because those ones, only cargo is coming in. So far, passengers are not coming in. The fact that humans are not coming through the borders and also through the ports, does it also have any impact now that we have the airport open to passengers? We'll be analyzing that. The gentleman who do justice already seated in the studio, and we'll be dealing with that pretty shortly. In the meantime, we'll go for a quick commercial break. We'll return shortly.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
Sa coronavirus yare no yare a sign pa. So obinya bi na se opo wagu so ana se obinti gu so a utumenya yare ni bi.
Okadi ni bahani onaka oyehila ekoji. Ohe banye do. Oba wulo. Ogo bahunu. Oba chine. O jamba wohe. Oba na sen kaka. Mekme musunchon. Mekme nuni enihe. Chitumoboni nke Jemofemo Bash Chon Okaji Neko.
Coronavirus infection, the symptoms can range from mild, one of it being asymptomatic. Asymptomatic just means that you may not have any symptoms at all, and the disease process can gradually worsen to be a severe form, the severest being ultimately death.
We are expected to sanitize our hands when our hands are not visibly soiled or you can't really see dirt on your hands. If you can see dirt on your hands, the best thing to do is to wash your hands with soap and the running water.
If you're using any of the cloth face masks, always make sure you have a rubber bag ready to receive it when you remove it, or you have a bowl of warm soapy water in which you can place the mask and wash. Wash your mask, dry in the hot sun for at least 5 hours, and apply heat by way of ironing.
Utiliser les ports de Tema et de Takoradi, c'est avoir un traitement rapide et sécurisé de vos marchandises diverses en conteneurs, en sac ou en vrac, ainsi que tous vos véhicules en transit. Le Ghana a construit un parking bien pavé pour tous les véhicules en transit. Une nouvelle gare frigorifique pour le stockage de la marchandise congelée en transit. Avec un nouveau centre de traitement de données construit et la mise en œuvre efficace d'un guichet unique national qui permet aux données d'être accessibles par tous les intervenants, le traitement des dossiers dans les ports du Ghana est maintenant efficace et plus efficient. Utiliser les ports du Ghana, c'est profiter des systèmes de portes électroniques et d'exploitation des terminaux ainsi que de la réservation des navires en ligne, entraînant ainsi un parc de camions fiable pour un acheminement de vos marchandises dans les brefs délais avec un suivi satellitaire jusqu'à nos frontières.
Les femmes, à vous les honneurs.
Les ports de Tema et de Takoradi célèbrent la femme. Que les bienfaits de cette célébration apportent plus de bénédictions.
Welcome back from the break. You're watching Ion Port. The program is proudly brought to you by GOIL, Serene, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and the Ghana Revenue Authority. My guest in the studio, Mr. Ebo Hammond, is the President, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Ghana. Mr. Hammond, pleasure to have you in the studio. It's the first, right?
Yes,
on Ion Port. Yeah, this particular one is the first. Also in the studio is my man, Nanafri Dua Ofori Atta. He's Executive Secretary Committee of Freight Forwarder Associations as a KUFA.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Nana.
Yes.
And Chairman also Customs Brokers Association of Ghana, QBAG, Kotoka International Airport. Nana, pleasure to have you in the studio as well. So we are expecting Mr. Adam Imoro Ayana. I know sometimes he performs wonders before you realize he shows up. So we're hoping to have him on. Mr. Adam Imoro Ayana is the Executive Membership Owners and Agents Association of Ghana. So we're talking the impact of the reopening of Kotoka International Airport to passenger traffic and that impact on land as well as the sea borders. Maybe Mr. Hammond, starting with you, but before then, the President's announcement, let's listen to it. Let's get to see the details, what he mentioned, what is left to be done, because we know land and sea are yet to be open to passengers. Let's listen to the President shortly and come back.
I'm glad to announce that Kotoka International Airport will reopen and resume operations from Tuesday, 1st September 2020. This decision has been communicated to all international airlines. It has been well established that the very first cases of COVID-19 in Ghana were imported into our shores. We are determined to make sure this scenario does not reoccur. The commitment to ensuring that the gradual easing of restrictions, including the reopening of our airport, does not lead to the importation or resurgence of the virus into our country is firmly in place. For the avoidance of doubt, our borders by land and sea will continue to remain closed to human traffic until further notice.
With the mask quickly. Mr. Hammond, let me start with you. Have I turned this up? We all heard the President and we had the announcement. If you can share with us from your perspective, where have we come ever since the closure to passengers of our airports?
When you say where have we
Okay,
come
so I'm trying to say, what what has been the picture so far to you?
The closure means really it's gloom and doom because, and it was very important to that we did that because just like the president said, human life was more important to him. First and foremost, if you are not alive, you can't even make any money out of whatever opportunity that you have. But that also means that virtually the shutdown of the aviation industry. And when we say shutdown of the aviation industry, it doesn't only mean planes are not flying, but it also means that the taxes and fees that can be generated from these activities are also virtually brought down to a negligible level. For example, overflights where we charge for navigational charges, landing charges, that is the upstream revenue generation. Then you come to the midstream, which is the airport hub. That also, there are taxes, people use the restaurant, they use the ATM, they use duty-free and others. That also will make money from there. From there, when they come, even the car park. The car park of airports is also a source of money. Then you come downstream. All these people, the foreigners who go to hotels, they go to tourism centers and other places, and they spend in the markets. And all these, if they are not coming, it means that virtually the revenue that we could generate out of all these activities have been virtually truncated. Let me just mention, probably Ghana, we don't have the key numbers yet, but when US shut off just EU, the airline aviation corridor, just for 3 months, it translated to over $20 billion. Because the EU, the North Atlantic aviation corridor is one of the busiest. And overall, in the international aviation travels, when we lock down, annually, it's KPMG in May suggested that we can lose over 250 billion. And when we talk about that, globally. So you see, these are huge monies, which are gone, we can't recover them. When we start, we are going to start slowly. So, and all this money, Ghana also will get their cuts. So if you are down, it means that virtually it affects the entire economy. Not to talk about the hospitality industry that's virtually crying. People have lost their jobs, or if they've not lost their jobs, they are not being paid. Some are paid half. It's really a big problem.
But have we done some assessment so far, ever since the official lockdown, to see how much we have lost, or how much impact in terms of the numbers we have lost from that sector?
For Ghana, I'm yet to see a report on such a thing. Probably over time, such studies are being undertaken or will be taken. I believe that it's very also important that the aviation sector and also Ministry of Finance and all those are able to work out something for us to really know where we've come from, what we have lost, and especially now that we are opening, what's the gap or the big hole that has been created for which we have to fill back.
Nana, you were a broker, and all these periods that we have had the passenger side shut down. I know cargo has been working, so obviously you probably have been working, but what kind of picture have you also noticed? And what's the difference? What difference did you see in terms of the closure to passengers while you have the cargo side open all this while?
Well, I think the last time I checked, the lockdown had been on for like 5 months, 8 days or 10 days.
Around the 3rd March, then the lockdown came out.
So the 3rd March to 31st August. And it has had a very devastating effect on freight business in general. To give you a picture of it, in Ghana, what we all know is that it's an import-led economy. And because of that, everything is supposed to be coming from somewhere else. We export very little. So when it comes to air freight, the majority of the cargo that comes in comes on board the passenger aircraft. That's what a lot of people don't know. The cargo holds of this aircraft predominantly carry close to, let me say, 90% conservative estimates of the air cargo that comes into Ghana.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. The reason being that because we don't export much, the freighters don't see a destination as a good one because they virtually return empty.
Okay. Okay.
That's the big challenge.
Okay.
So the only freighters that come here are the chartered ones.
Okay.
Or ones on specific projects and it's been budgeted for, so they can afford to come and go. But for ordinary importers and business people trying to bring stuff in, of course they cannot charter an aircraft. We don't have such large importers that will put themselves together, aggregates, and then bring charters in, because they have to pay for their return. And if you know anything about aircraft, you know that fuel is one of the biggest costs. I think it's about 25% the cost of running an aircraft.
Okay.
So you can imagine if you have to shed off 75%, 25 is huge.
Yeah.
So for an aircraft to come here and return empty,
that's
it wouldn't come. That's why the passenger airlines were doing the majority of the business.
Okay.
So with the shutdown of the airport, that should tell you that to passengers, that should tell you that close to 90% of the business had gone down.
Wow.
The 5% or 10% is largely special aircraft, like I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course, military planes were moving and stuff like that.
But their cargo wasn't as significant as having the
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So this is how bad it was. If you can think about 90% of your business shut down, that's how bad it has affected us.
And the period now, the time that it has been reopened, what difference would that make? We've gone, if you take the period you gave, for instance, 3rd March to 30th of August, we've had quite a period resting. Now we have reopened. Looking at the timing, we have about 3 months to Christmas. Usually this period, even if you take the regular sea trade, for instance, this is the time that people will be importing a lot ahead of the Christmas and all of that. The timing of the reopening, what significance is it to your folks and to trading?
It is really significant in the sense that you know that Ghana is predominantly Christian, and Christmas is about the peak season for our business, the freight forwarders industry especially. It's a seasonal job. So around Christmas, we get, like 100% increment in the volumes. So the timing is really significant, but there's a challenge.
Okay.
Most of the majority of the importing public or the trading community are SMEs, if you can categorize them as such. They are SMEs. So they have small capital, up to $10,000, $5,000, and aggregates of it is what brings the volumes. But can you imagine about almost 6 months of a shutdown? It's very sad. Majority of them have lost their capital. Interesting. People are struggling now to see how they can raise money and go, because the capital is not much. And if you sit down for that period of time, you are forced to use it to do other things. So even though the timing is significant because it's nearing our peak season, the wherewithal of the importers is a big challenge. That's why we are happy about the president's initiatives that they put in place for SMEs. So that people can access funding. Corona funds, we can call it like that. That will help them restart their businesses.
So what you're saying is that we are not likely to see significant difference or rise in the trade because the people themselves who probably would have the capital to take off are not in the position to do so from now.
Exactly. So it will be gradual. It will be gradual. It's been open since Tuesday. Today is Saturday. The volumes are coming in, largely passenger. Those who have been, if I can say, trapped or locked up there for all this period. They are the ones coming. And the majority of these people are not traders, because no trader would have stayed there, because when they realized the lockdown was coming, they quickly left everything and came. But these are people who are in businesses or working overseas and things like that. So the majority of the people who are coming now are not the ones bringing in the cargo. If anything at all, we get PUBD and stuff like that, passenger unaccompanied baggages coming in. But the mainstay air freight cargo for trade, it will take a bit of a time for it to stay.
With that, Mr. Hammond, what advice would you give to people who were involved in trading in this direction prior to this whole lockdown thing, and now that we have the opening, and also the business community? How do we embrace this new, or the new normal sort of, and then also government? Now, he talked about some of the incentives with SMEs that are being handed out and all of that. To what extent can the system mitigate the impact?
Yeah, from the business people, now that the airport has opened, one thing that we also have to realize is that international trade will come upstream when other airports are also opened.
Yes.
If you alone have opened and others are not, where are you landing? Yeah, so there's going to be a problem. But it's a bold initiative for Ghana to open up, because I believe that the measures that we have taken, we are at least us now containing the virus. I know Kenya also has opened. They also require you to have about 4 days PCR tests. Nigeria too has opened. They also require at least about 5 days PCR tests. So bit by bit, I believe people are going to open. But it's also said that when there's an epidemic or a pandemic, in fact, really, since almost 100 years ago, this is the first pandemic that we have faced in this recent time. But for the others, which were epidemic like the MERS, the SARS, there were just blips of downturn in terms of international aviation passengers. But the one that you could see had a nosedive was in the SARS. But that one was like a V-shape. It nosedive, especially in China, it nosedive, and then when it was contained within a short period of time, it just went up again. Steeply. But for the coronavirus, because that stayed for a longer period of time, it is said that it could have what we call the BAF graph, where it's come down, it will stay low for a long period before it starts picking up. That's a BAF graph. So I believe that we have done that. We are ready to interact with the world, but really we must taper our hope in terms of the fact that business may not kick very, very fast. Because just like Nana is saying, people have, these are all medium scale business people, so that even for the big ones, because they have not been doing business for some time, even for the big airlines and others, some have folded up. So how much more these small business people? There would be the opportunistic way of still trying to bring something for Christmas, but I do not believe that we can get to the level as we normally under Christmas period, where there's no pandemic like this we do. Another thing also is that there's the phobia of traveling. People still believe that it's still very dangerous to travel. Yeah, so even though we've opened, it's only people who really want to dare to try. And then also, it's not costly to travel. You have to do PCR tests here, go to PCR tests there, and it's going to be a problem. So unless it's absolutely very important, people may not want to, especially you want to travel for holidays. Now it's almost nil. So and
unless it's also important.
And conferences, people come on conferences. That's also now gone. A lot of them have gone virtual. So really, but it's a bold step we have taken, and bit by bit, I think that the authorities should not be downhearted. Bit by bit.
If they are not seeing the positives as early as they expected.
But if let's assume that every month the figures will not come up, but I will surmise that, for example, if every day we're churning out less about 1,000 passengers, and we shut down, is zero. Now, as we open up, if in a day we are doing, let's say, 300, it's still better than nothing at all.
Better. So it keeps life together.
So I think we have to start and then build it up bit by bit.
Okay, Nana, let's connect to the sea. I know that some people, some importers would love to travel. They get to, say, China, any of the Asian countries, they get to the US, Canada, and then purchase their stuff. and probably ship them, then they will travel back down. Now, even though cargo was supposed to move, because people were not allowed to go and purchase and then bring, to what extent did that affect the cargo volumes that we were witnessing, not necessarily even through the airports, but through the seaports and probably even the lands as well?
Well, like I stated initially, most of our people, they're almost like what we call around the border areas, head load. They travel with their money on them. They carry $5,000 up to $10,000. A few of them transfer the monies in between. So the challenges, China has reopened, which is the main, destination for our people. China has opened, but what we have all come to realize that the post-coronavirus syndrome. Most businesses closed down.
Yeah,
that's a fact. So the things that you could lay hands on probably now will be things that have already been, manufactured are in the warehouses.
Yeah.
But otherwise, businesses are slowly reopening, and they are calling. If you recollect some of the areas in China that they reopened, the virus showed up again, and then they had to quickly, close down those areas. For the first time, we've had about a week of no, internally transmitted corona in China.
Yeah.
So now the confidence is coming. Yeah. So businesses will start opening slowly. So the situation where even people go and then they ship their cargo by sea and then they come by air would also be gradual. Because the destination itself, what you are going to buy is not really ready.
But the fact that at least you can even travel to China now,
yeah,
and we are open, they are open, and you can travel. When this whole thing began, we had the Greater Accra regional president here who said a lot of their folks now are seated. Nobody, that was even way before the lockdown. Nobody is moving because they were scared and all of that. Now, the level of contagion in China has gone down significantly. People can now fly, go and come. Is it about time that we should expect something significant, apart from the phobia that Mr. Hammond talked about? If people can now travel all the way to China freely, should we be expecting a lot more than we have seen for the past 6 months or so?
Oh, certainly. People are, let me say, quote unquote, hungry. And
to get back to their business.
To get back to their businesses. So, whatever it is, the shutdown brought down up to like 80 to 90% capacity reduction in global trade. So it's not just restricted to Ghana.
Yeah.
So now that it has been reopened, people would like to go and do business, but it will be gradual, certainly because, like I said, the destinations are not all open.
Opened, yeah.
Some are open, like the China. Turkey was doing business. Turkish air cargo was doing a lot of business.
Okay.
We one of the statistics we chanced on was that Turkey air cargo, has boosted the capacity. They're taking about another 5% of global air trade. That's huge. So a few destinations are working, and our people go to Turkey, they go to China.
And are the airports open to passengers as well? You know, if the airports are open.
Oh yes, once they are open for business, the airports are open. But you go through the quarantine. It's not as though you just go and shop. So the cost of doing business will go up significantly. Because in Ghana you have to pay $150 when you come back. When you get to wherever you're going to, you have to be quarantined for the period. I'm sure you also have to bear the cost
increase,
of,
and then
you
also have to
and
transfer.
there wouldn't be that widely open market, so there will still be limited. At best, e-commerce would be the way to go in the short to medium term. Okay. That would be the way to go for global trade.
Okay. Before we get everything all together again
on track. Yeah.
Mr. Hammond, what assessment would you also make of the impact the airport reopening would have on sea and land trade?
In terms of impact, it's I believe that it should be just little, because one, the goods that the aviation industry lifts, the characteristics are quite different from the sea.
Yeah.
The sea more bulk, low value, also the same way in a way land. So the air more highly valuable, lightweight. So at the end of the day, if it opens, I do not think that it will pull that much cargo from, let's say, sea to air. Just a little. And then also when it comes to passenger, you know that for sea, there's nothing like passenger transport.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
because we are not too vibrant with cruise.
Yeah, cruise. No, we are not. We don't even have the facilities for real cruise docking here. For land, to an extent, not really, because it's the same thing. The only thing is that probably if the land is open, some people who are coming by our neighbors, Nigeria and other around us, may decide to go by road. But it is going to be a little tough, especially open land. Controlling land crossing is a big problem. Recently, you even had, because of the porousness of our borders, land borders, we had a lot of challenges. Yeah, so I believe that, and still in the protocols on the land is a little bit difficult, because the aviation industry is highly restricted. Yeah. And so the security around it is very, very tough. Yeah. So I believe that for land, it may take a little bit. And the opening really will not cascade much onto the land and sea.
That's you mean the
opening of the
airport.
Okay. Yeah.
But since you have begun with the readiness and how prepared are we to open the other borders, that's land and sea, let me stick with that. Now, why do you think that if we have been able to put a lot of things together at KIA, we shouldn't be able to do the same with Elubo, Hamle or Aflao, besides the fact that the airport had always been restricted. Now we know the circumstances have changed. The period that we are operating is different. Can't we equally, if we really believe in the fact that we should let people come through by now, can't we put some stringent measures in place around the borders there?
Yeah, it's possible, but we will need to, the measure that we need to put in place to be able to open the land borders would be much more than air. You know, what I'm saying is that, for example, by air, you just land in one particular place.
Yes.
And immediately you land, the land bridge will just tell you that you can't pass anywhere, just pass through this place.
One place.
Go here, go here. So you can't have
Isn't
your own
that
way.
what we see at the land as well? If it's Hamle,
yes.
it's Hamle.
But it's not like that.
Not at all.
Not at all.
There are some corner.
A lot of, yes. Now, there's still, I won't say state of emergency, but because we say we have locked ourselves in, there's high security alertness, even on the porous borders. But immediately they realize, oh, Ghana has now opened the borders. Then those people who are just over, let's say, Togo, Elubo, Sampa and all those, will have now
we can walk through.
Borders everywhere around the border is open. You will be seeing people just ferrying. So it may have to take a little more time to plan it very well. And it must also be backed by even security measures along the porous. But if you say land border, it's a lot of official and unofficial crossings.
But at the moment, we are tackling both unofficial and official crossings. We are able to prevent people from using all of these. So if we now say that we are opening, can't we still maintain the same strict security systems at both the official and unofficial routes, and then ensure that at least the legitimate routes are the ones that people would use in coming in?
Yeah. In fact, I don't want to create an impression that it cannot be open. It can be open.
It can be done.
But I'm saying that, for example, His Excellency the President announced that, I think just about within 2 weeks, that he intends to open the airport. And the aviation minister went into action quickly, and within 2 weeks, we have opened. In land,
you think it will be difficult?
It will take some time.
It's a different ball game.
It's a different ball game.
Okay.
But it still needs to be planned.
Yeah.
The earlier we start the planning, the better for us to open it on time. But I can't see the president just announcing that land borders will be open and within 1-2 weeks it's open. A little more things will have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. But do you also agree that opening the borders, the land borders, now that we are talking about the land, let's take with land before we move to the sea, the land borders to passengers would also greatly impact on cargo throughputs, for instance, cargoes that run through the port. Just the way Nana mentioned that opening the passengers to the airport significantly impacts the cargo session. If we are to open the borders to passengers on land, will it hugely impact on cargo volumes that we see coming in out?
Really, because most people who cross the borders by land, they go for business. It's not just for tourism per se. They go for business, and the economy flows with goods, services, and people. And when people are moving,
that's when they can bring in
goods and services flow with them. So the shutdown of the land border definitely, if you go and check, I believe the figures, customs and the GI, they will tell you that trade volumes, taxes have gone down. So if you just even take the Togo border, the people just crossing to go and buy and come and sell, that alone, it's down. So when they open the land borders, I believe that will make a very big impact economically. Yes, especially also the land borders. People do not travel very far. Like, for example, in Ghana, when you look at it, especially when the Ghanaians go, maybe they can go up to Nigeria, but some people may not want to go by land going to Gabon. You understand? Because the longer it is, the more difficult is it to handle. But I think that we must also start aiming at looking at opening the land borders. But like I said, the COVID protocols application is a little more strenuous on land. Yes, so we must really plan through very well.
Nana, you were nodding to some, and I believe that
let me just add a little to what he said concerning the land borders. You know, the land border, the Kotoka, there's only one Kotoka International Airport. So that's how the aviation minister is able to call everybody into order and say, let's go and do this, and we are done. But the vastness of the land border, it stretches from the north all the way to the south. I mean, the unofficial borders, we have immigration and customs people at certain places that we don't even consider official borders. But you can also reckon the fact that the people who do, we call them head load, those who do the head load business, they are not that endowed like those who do China. Their capital is a bit smaller. Will they be able to afford the $150 testing before they enter the Ghana border?
So that should be considered and probably subsidized relatively.
I think what
you don't want to
what
give
is
the
good
same
for the goose is good for the gander.
but I mean, I'm sure that the condition around, and if we really mean it, we probably want to look at subsidizing some stuff to make room for things.
Yes, that should be the way forward, because otherwise they will not be able to afford it, and that will lead to more people using the unapproved borders than coming through the mainstay. And when they come, in fact, the facilities are just not there. Go to a Lubu. Aflao is better than a Lubu in terms of facilities. But go to a Lubu. I mean, if you have to quarantine people, where would you put them?
Or say Hamley.
Well, I mean, where are you going to put them?
One small structure for the
even they have the money and they can afford it. So that's why they haven't attempted it. I know. Because that will, I mean...
But over there, the volumes of people who move in and out are not that much.
Not that much,
high. So it should, I mean, it should be regulated. And maybe you also don't want to underestimate some of those business people. They are the ones bringing the tomatoes in trucks and behind trucks and all of that, onions and all of that coming. You think they can afford all these things?
Well, they can
if you have to pay $100, $150 as part of your cost.
$50, $150.
Yeah, but those are like the tomato people you are talking about. That's perishables. They cannot afford to come and keep them 3 days or whatever.
Yeah, that's also another.
That's another. It comes with its own challenges, and I doubt. We don't have the capacity, as in with immigration, customs. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the facilities, and the type of business that goes on the land borders are quite different from what comes from the China and the rest of it. Yeah. Food is also one of it. I mean, the perishables, the tomatoes, the onions and things that come through. They just have to come through. But we have to consider reopening because other businesses also do intra-West African trade, and they are not head load people. They have their trucks crossing. So we can consider a partial of a sort. And
so
let
probably
those
do it in phases.
In phases, yes. in phases so that we can allow for intra-West African trade to go on, and then maybe restrict the head load business for a while. Remember when they took off the VAT on airline tickets and things like that? Some section of the trading community got upset and said that, but those are the rich people. So why are you taking rather the VAT off theirs? I think Guta raised some issue with that and all that. So the land borders really presents a different set of challenges that need to be taken care of.
Okay, let's deal with the sea now. To what extent do you think it's urgent to have the sea open? The sea doesn't have that vast areas as we're comparing with the land. It probably has also a little bit restricted space, not necessarily same as what you have with the airport, but quite restricted enough.
For the sea, I believe that technically it's still open because goods are coming in.
The passengers.
It's only the passengers. I'm saying that in Ghana, really
not much.
Yes, not much. I mean, even when it was open, how many cruise liners came here? And if they even came here, probably they will just be a little bit ashore because they will have anywhere for them to dock. I was aware that the ports were trying to create a place for them, but I'm not sure whether the new development they also will be taken care of. Yeah, so for passenger, the only thing is the crew changing, and with the crew changing, it shouldn't be a problem. So long as they go through the protocols, I shouldn't see why.
Well, they were restricted, and globally it's led to some difficulties. Maybe let me just give you a picture of that, and then we'll dwell much on that side and see whether now that we have them moving through the airport, it should be easier for us to fine-tune what the movement also from the seaports. Let's listen to this one. ITF estimates that there are now approximately 300,000 seafarers trapped working aboard ships due to the crew change crisis caused by the COVID-19 border and travel restrictions, and an equal number of unemployed seafarers waiting to join them who were ashore. Explaining the figure, the union said there are over 9,500 ships which are covered by International Bargaining Forum agreement between the ITF and respective employers. These ships are operated by an estimated 370,000 seafarers. Seafarers on IBF covered ships make up 30.8% of the 1.2 million seafarers that the International Chamber of Shipping estimate make up the worldwide seafaring workforce. Okay, so quite a number of seafarers still trapped at sea just because they can't exchange themselves. You know, you have, when the vessels get to the port, you have other crew coming to change from the other crew. Now, because of the restrictions and the closures, the crew members were not able to move and then come change with their partners. So now that we have the airport open, the other part of crew will be able to come in, but those that are on sea will not be able to come out to come and change with these people.
For example, one of my former students is a seafarer, and last about two months he has changed. During the heat of the pandemic, everything just came to a standstill. But what they did was that they went through Takoradi Port. You go there, you are quarantined for, I think, 2 weeks. That time, the discharge policy had not come to intervene. So you'll be quarantined for 2 weeks. Those also who are coming down will also be quarantined in the hotel for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
After that, they test you, and if you are positive, they handle it. If you are negative, they release you. Those who are going on board, if you are negative, they give you a green pass and you go. If you are positive, then definitely they have to treat you well, and then after that you go on to the boat. So with this, I shouldn't think there should be a problem. There shouldn't be a problem. Get them quarantined. For example, Nigeria, they are not talking about even the port, but when you come down, they are saying that when
you mean at their seaport?
No, in the airport. I'm saying the same way they treat their passengers.
Yes.
It's the same way that we can also treat the seaport. When you come and you test positive, you are just put in a hotel. They check on you till maybe you read the discharge, and then they release you. So if you are going on to the ship, they put you in a hotel or any other holding room for them to check. They can test you. If you are negative, straight away you get on board. If you are positive, probably they have to keep you, hand you over to the health authorities for them to take care of you. If you later are discharged, or probably you get your negative test, then you are admitted on board. Those who are also coming down, you are also quarantined. So there will be a holding area for us to check on your COVID status before you are released on board or you are released to come to town. And so for me, for this one, I don't see.
You think that the same protocol should be applied at the sea?
Yes, the same protocol.
But, well, of course, the president didn't announce that. So now what we have is that they can't
because they are doing it. I'm saying that my former student is on
that's already been done. Is that what you are saying?
The president might not have announced it, but the
protocols show that that's what has been done.
The captains and others are working with the port authority, and they are doing it.
No, you see, this is the picture I'm trying to paint. The crew, are they able to come out, change with the other crew, and move out? Once you have some sickness or whatever and you are detected aboard, you are able to, they bring you out, they can take you to the hospital and check you up and all of that, and return. But you cannot change over with somebody, another crew that, the other set of crew that need to take over from you. That is where the difference comes in. At the moment, if you need to step out because you have some health issues and all of that, you're able to do that. But you cannot change over.
Do you know that in the airline industry, the flight attendants
they come and they change over, yes.
So how are they going to change over? They will still go to the same COVID protocols. So you just, the same way, I don't see why we cannot apply it also in the maritime industry, because they even have big numbers. How often even do they change over? But for the airlines, every time they are changing over. So the same protocols, I believe, can just be transplanted there. And I'm saying that if, for example, they have to, there's a crew down there, they would have to go to the same protocols, and then you discharge them, or those who are getting on board, they get on board. The only thing is to check their status, COVID status. And so long as we are sure about their COVID status, I do not see what special issue is in that it will make it difficult for us to do that. Maybe it's not really a big problem. That's why the president has not announced it, because I think this one should be able to handle.
Because he mentioned that. I'm going to have to let them play it again quickly, because he was specific that those two, the sea and land, are not open. Once he has been specific, if he was silent on it, it would have been different. Nana, do you understand?
Yes,
if he was silent on it, then you would assume that protocols can be put in place to make it happen and adjust things in a way. But when the impression is that the readiness from the seaports and the seaports and the land borders are not there yet, and for which reason it will remain shut to passengers who want any passengers or crew members who want to disembark, that means that it stays like that. It means that crew members can still disembark. But if we are saying that it should be easy, then where lies the non-readiness? Why are we not ready at the seaport?
Yes, for example, what is the, maybe Nana probably would.
I'll bring Nana in, but let's listen to the president real quick, and then Nana takes that.
I'm glad to announce that Kotoka International Airport will reopen and resume operations from Tuesday, 1st September 2020. This decision has been communicated to all international airlines. It has been well established that the very first cases of COVID-19 in Ghana were imported into our shores. We are determined to make sure this scenario does not reoccur. The commitment to ensuring that the gradual easing of restrictions, including the reopening of our airport, does not lead to the importation or resurgence of the virus into our country is firmly in place. For the avoidance of doubt, our borders by land and sea will continue to remain closed to human traffic until further notice.
Okay, so you get what I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So there's that specific direction in as much as you assume that we can relax it and let the protocols flow. Now he believes that it remains shut. Nana?
Yeah, because they said for the avoidance of doubt, and he repeated himself again. There should be a reason. I would think, well, because when it comes to, seafarers and maritime transport, they stay on the sea for much, much longer periods. So, for instance, if even they are just coming directly from the US or Brazil or something, within the 2-3 weeks, they'll be on the sea. The challenge will be how or where they will do those tests. Because when you compare it to the airline, they are supposed to do it 3 days before they embark. So it's easier for them, the crew on the aircraft, but these people, they've been on the sea for so long a time, they could have contracted it even they conducted the test before they set sail. They may have contracted it along the line if somebody can, because of the length of time that they stay on the seas, it presents different challenges. And so that should be the concern that the government has in saying that no, they should remain closed, so that probably some of the lessons that will be picked up from opening the airport can be applied. Yes, can be applied. It can help us form guidelines into a kind of a SOP that we can tweak it to suit the sea maritime transportation sector. So I think that's what really is at stake, because we need to learn something from here and then we apply it.
Okay.
Sam, you know something? For example, just today before I came here, another friend of mine told me that he just went planing to Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay.
And why? So he's a seafarer. He's been called.
Okay.
So he has to go and do a crew change in Cote d'Ivoire. He's going to Cote d'Ivoire because that's where the ship or boat is. Let's say, for example, in taking any sample for COVID tests, it's not every time that you have to bring the PCR machine there. They will go there, pick your sample. Because when even ships and boats come onto the shore, customs office and others, port health, they go into the ship. So they'll just go and take the samples. They go and take the samples, send it to wherever we have to test it. It's tested and we know their status. And if you are positive, we know how to handle you. If you are negative, we know how to handle you. Unless there is a particular security issue concerning the crew in a ship, I do not see how it's a complex issue.
Yeah, and even that, it's always tackled.
Yes, so it's just about taking samples. Because when the boats come or the ships dock, they go into the ship. And even interact with the people who are there. So if they have to do an exchange, you just take the ones who are there, take their samples. Those who want to go in, you take their samples. Based on their status, you handle them. So and these are not like even airports where hundreds and hundreds of people are passing in a short period of time. So I believe that the ports people should be able to advise and discuss with the president. Definitely the president take decisions based on the advice of the technical people. Unless there's anything that is really untoward, I do not see that if we've taken a bold decision to open the airport,
the seaport shouldn't be a problem at all. I think it's the right one, the way you are coming. But again, so then you would say that the president hasn't got, or there hasn't been enough briefing towards that direction to him, towards this area, because then if it's not that a big deal around the port, and already there are tons of procedures in place that are being implemented by the COVID-19 team around the port there. So it should be easy to control and curtail the situation at the seaport, even far more than the airport.
For me, it's easier. From my background in health and logistics, I don't see the enormity of the problem in handling that. In fact, where the biggest problem is land. That's where I think that is a big problem. But for sea, I don't see, unless there's a reason why maybe authorities want to take some time and analyze certain things. Otherwise, health-wise, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and I'm happy it's coming from you, because I think I should have added that as part of your profile when I said it. You're also a director of the Ghana Health Service, right? So that's a very significant input coming from you. Let me say that, though, there's a release that we got from, or the release that's supposed to go to the Ghana Maritime Authority that has been sent to me, and then I think the Port and Harbours Authority. Quite a number of people want to make interventions. Ziad Hamoui, I'm sure you know very much, has some intervention on the land side that we talked about earlier. But let me read a bit of this one. And then a few others. Those who are calling the WhatsApp number, please. The WhatsApp number is 055-901-9177. 055-901-9177. It's on the screens now with the green knob there. The number that you can call, I think after 8 we should be able, after 7 we should be able to pick the numbers. The number that you can call is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. So from the Ghana Maritime, this one says an official letter addressed to the Director General should be sent to their head office in Accra, providing all details of the crew passport. And this is talking about the process for crew, getting the crew changed. Health status, country of origin, country of destination, flight details, vessel name and details, with all necessary information about the crew change activities too. The letter should state categorically the reasons for the crew change and requesting the Ghana Maritime Authority for the assistance. The letter should be handed over directly to the Director General's office, and not the reception, and the agency of the activity must also be stated to request immediate action due to short stay of vessel in port. Contact numbers of the crew change team must also be stated in the letter, and necessary request to meet the Director General Secretary to explain further on the agency of it. 3 is the main purpose of this letter to the Ghana Maritime Authority is to request for their latest directive and instruct all parties in the port to grant the necessary assistance required for the crew change activity. Copies of the approved letter should be attached to the email to the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority and the various letters to the Customs, Immigration and the Port Security Manager. This measure had been there for some time. Not long ago, I think when they marked the World Seafarers Day, I heard the Director General of GMA saying that some of these measures have been put in place there. So if this is the outline of some of the things you can do to have the crew change, what else is there?
Yeah, we don't have a problem.
Nana?
Yeah. Not much. I mean, like we've all agreed. I mean, there is no reason why they wouldn't want to consider, taking off the restrictions on seafarers and the change of sea crew. Because I think, like we said, it's the length of the voyages. And you see, sometimes there's a lot of transshipment, the kind of vessels that come here. So they visit ports that are considered maybe with high prevalence rates. So if they are coming from the Brazils and things of this world, those are the things that, I think the port authorities are considering. Yes.
But Sam, do you know that there's no border for our local artisanal fishermen? They just move from Cote d'Ivoire. There's no border for them.
Yeah.
For example, somewhere in the central region, in the heat of the COVID, those who came from Cote d'Ivoire brought the virus. And I'm just wondering whether the artisanal fishermen who are on the borders of, let's say, Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire especially, they cross and come. I don't know what happens to them.
What happens? I think you have a point. Initially there were a lot of advice, a lot of education put together by the Port and Harbours Authority to most of these fishing communities and the fisher folk. So I remember that there was a visit which we covered to the fishing harbours all around, Takrady, Tema and all of that. But it was mainly educational sensitization, telling them what to do and all of that. But as to what restrictions are there along, because even if you block the Tema fishing harbour or you block Takoradi. They can go and
they
doctor.
don't come
They
don't
care about those.
They land at their towns. For example, Jamestown, Mori, Mumford. They just land there. That's their point of
But I'm thinking, I don't know too much about them, but when they go, I mean, the cross borders, sea borders, to say, do they go and interact with the people of the country? I'm not sure about that.
They get
they
down.
Just go
sometimes you go
to fish.
So even sometimes you get down, you go and buy food, you sleep somewhere, you buy fuel. Those things happen.
Some of them, there's fishing too is seasonal.
Yes.
For example, some parts of the central region, they've just moved on block to Cote d'Ivoire. Unfortunately, I hear that some of them, when they returned, the Ivorian authorities arrested them.
Oh,
yes. But they came from Ivory Coast to Ghana to celebrate the Easter. Well, that was the time that the COVID was really high. And they just landed. And we got some of them being COVID positive.
Positive?
Yes.
Yeah. I see.
They just came. Who checked the border for them?
Nobody checks them.
It means that all these while that angle hasn't been properly...
They are just moving in and out. I don't know whether now probably it's to be stepped up. So if we are having problem with change of crew, they come in droves.
Yeah.
Nobody checked them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so the crew there shouldn't
What I realized was that when they get into Ghana's high seas, then the naval officers relay information to the security, and then they meet them at the plane, not to arrest them, but to ensure that sometimes they quarantine them and find out whether there's any problem. But somebody says that, but they cross the sea borders in this case.
I see. Let me find out. So if you would want to advise, for instance, at the moment, how soon would you expect the president say, let the sea also start?
As I told you, that I have evidence, and I've told you about a former student of mine who I've been chatting with. He just went on board last 2 months. How did he go?
Through a different country?
No, through Ghana.
Yeah. Okay. Probably had followed this process that
yes,
we all read about.
He was quarantined for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
After that, they did a test and he was negative, and then they admitted him to become on board. So for me, it's happening. So I think that
we shouldn't be too strict on ourselves.
That the president will give a seal of approval to it.
Okay. The other parts, since we have mentioned this, there's also the Port and Harbours Authority part, aside the Ghana Maritime Authority that I just got from those who are watching. It says an official email is to be sent to the COVID-19 committee team, informing them on the crew change activities with personal details, flight details, if received, or country of origin and destination of the crew stated in the mail. Passport details and a statement from the master declaring the crew fit should be accompanied with the health declaration forms from the master and attached to the email. Also, having received the email, directive will be sent by the committee chairman to all the parties involved. So these are, it's a long process, but yes, these are some processes that already are there.
Something is happening. So I don't see why we can at least let the president be comfortable that he can announce, because it is happening.
So the seaport is ready to, like you're saying, okay, okay. That's good coming from you, gentlemen. Let me pick Ziad. He's on the line and he intends to make some intervention on the land side that we spoke about. Hello, Ziad. Hello, Ziad.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Yes. Good evening, Sami, to you and to your guest.
Good evening,
I'd like to
Ziad.
especially welcome my institute president, Mr. Bo Hammond.
Oh, good.
Good to see you, sir. I wanted to just make a quick contribution when you were having this discussion about the interesting topic of the cross-border trade, and with the point that drew my attention was the fact that have we, as a country, conducted a risk assessment of the likelihood of transmission of COVID-19 from cross-border traders. And the reason I'm asking this is because you know that some of these cross-border traders, at least on the land side, are actually conduct their businesses within a relatively limited geography.
Hello, Ziad.
And,
Hello, Ziad.
yes.
Is there a television set that's close to you? If you can turn down the volume a little, because we're having some feedback that's not making your audio present.
So is it better now?
Relatively, yeah. And let me also announce that Ziad is the national president of Borderless Alliance, so we take that input very seriously. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So I was saying that I was drawn into the debate by the discussion by the risk component of the cross-border traders, especially on the land side. And I was thinking that, but I'm not very sure, but we need to verify whether the risk for cross-border trade is that high, especially for most of these traders who conduct most of their businesses within fairly limited geography. As you know, some people just cross these borders regularly, several times a day. They live in the borders most of the time. They don't move so much. And so when you look at the prohibitive cost of conducting a COVID-19 test, I wonder whether public engagement with the security agencies and the risk profiling can give us an opportunity to relax strictly for some of these border traders, or at least to try to limit the movement of these people, or to ensure that the movement of these people in the first place is limited, and then to find out whether we can allow them a bit of the freedom for the movement, because some of these people have their trade completely locked up to the COVID-19 situation. And it is affecting them much more than it is affecting people in the urban areas, even in some of the less rural areas. We definitely need to try to engage with security agencies and with the immigration on that particular issue.
Okay. But Ziad, what work should we expect from, say, your outfit, helping us analyze the risk impact if we are to open the borders, for instance? Have you done some work towards this direction, or if you know of any civil society organization that's done some work analyzing the impact that a reopening of the borders should have, then we can also be able to advise government accordingly. I'm sure that we have all raised, around this table, we have raised some of the difficulties, and definitely that could be one of the areas government is also looking at. Has somebody come out with that kind of analysis that should be able to tell government that, look, we can do it this way or do it that way and we should be fine?
That is the interesting point, because most of the work and the assessment have been conducted with the assumption of the normal cross-border trade flows, which move from one country to the other, and that is with the assumption originating from ports or from the production areas within West Africa, for example, all the way to destination. So if you're importing tile, for example, from AKUFO-ADDO airport to Mali, that one is part of the assessment. But if you are moving headloads across the borders, eggs or fruit or vegetables or perishables or even some of the smaller light manufacturing items, I'm not sure I have come across any study that specifically concentrates on the cross-border trade of the border communities themselves.
Okay. Then would you advise that sort of direction is taken as soon as possible, and then people can advise? Because as it looks, the picture is that we're all assuming that there will be risk, there will be high risk, and I'm sure that that's what government is also looking at, assuming that there will definitely be high risk.
Now, that risk alone, should not be seen alone. And you know that currently in West Africa, there are other risk factors that have to be taken into consideration. There are possibilities of instabilities from incoming elections in the countries. There are sudden transitions of powers in some of the landlocked countries. There's still an ongoing insurgency in the Sahel. So there are other risk factors that include, and I'm not sure whether these have been factored into the calculations, or which might have contributed towards the hesitancy of some of the other West African nations, not just Ghana, towards the implementation of the reopening of the border. But I know that it would be only fair to ask this question with the security agencies, or let's say the agencies, these agencies involved at the borders, and that will be immigration and security agencies.
Okay.
I think it's very interesting and it's very important for us to find
because
out what the status is specifically for them.
Yeah, particularly because I've heard you and some colleague of yours, particularly around the CSO roundtable, asking for the borders, the land borders, to be open because much so we have the after hoping to take off from January 2021. So I will leave it here, Ziad, with you. Thank you very much for joining us and
sharing. Thank you very much.
There's a point, though, that those of us in, maybe Nana, this one says, hello, I am Paul. Speaking on the topic of opening the land borders, it makes almost no sense keeping the land border closed at Aflao because I have been, and he's talking about himself, I've been to check and observe human activities at the beaches and post at twilight. I'm duly informing you. I have observed petty traders paying 10 Ghana cedis per person and crossing at the illegal crossing point. God bless us all. So this gentleman says that already people are paying small to cut across. So what's the point in assuming that you have closed it in the first place?
In fact, opening for me is like I said, it could be done. But what I also realized is that the COVID protocols can add quite a huge amount of money to the fare. Mm-hmm. For example, if a casual check from a bus from Accra to, let's say, Lagos, mm-hmm. costs between $30 and $55. Let's even round up maybe about $50. Would you say that $50 and then you add $150 for COVID tests? That virtually rocks it 3 times. You understand? And then, mark you, if it goes to Togo, they also have their own checks. They may decide that when you enter my country, you do a test. Mm-hmm. When you enter Cotonou, you do a test. Then it really becomes very costly. Let's even assume that every border you do a test that even costs about $100. By the time you reach Lagos, Ghana 100, Togo 100, Cotonou 100, then you reach Lagos 100, $400. It can be. Yeah. What are you? And mind you, not everybody going is on business. Sometimes students, he's just coming back to school or going somewhere or just visiting his parents. He can't pay these things. So when the land border is open, definitely the cost of abiding by the COVID protocols may have to be relooked. Yeah. Definitely. Otherwise, it will make traveling by land very, very expensive.
Okay. I'll come to Nana on the fact that people are paying some way, somehow to use unapproved routes. But the number that you can WhatsApp is 0559019177. The number to call 020-552-8353. Try and stick to the number you can call. If you call the number that you should WhatsApp, I'm not able to pick. That's why I'm sending the messages. Okay. So, Nana, already people are on approved routes. Should that bother us and should that make us so tight about it and say, still, we are not leaving it open? We are not opening because we assume that we have closed it.
I mean, it poses a great challenge to the authorities because, I mean, the neighbors, those who live around both borders are neighbors, essentially. Yeah. So how long can you keep them apart? Mm-hmm. Right. At some point, they'll find a way to go across. I mean, even in the most advanced countries, like between US and Mexico, I mean, no matter what you do, people still cross.
That's part of the wall.
Yes. Cross. And here is the case, the people speak the same language on both sides of the border. Yeah. So whatever they would do to do business, they would have to survive. Yeah. Yeah, so it's about time that we look at a way. I think there'll be a need for a joint, border, committee formed between the Togolese and our side so that we can critically look at how we can ease the burden on them. Because these are people who sometimes work in Togo and then they live in Ghana and vice versa. So, a human being will have to find a way to survive. That's the
Yeah. And if it takes moving to the other side.
Yes.
But
So
what would you say to also those who are suggesting that why don't we then rather put up the structure that would ensure that everybody at least can get tested if you are coming in and all of that. You have the COVID protocols there, but not telling them not to go in and come out, because already people are going in and coming out. So why don't you rather, if it's a structure that you have there that tests people and you willingly advise them, please, if you have gone here and coming, test here before you go. It's not as if we're saying you can't go entirely. So relax the borders, open the borders, but have the protocols there that would allow them to test easily, because if you don't let them come formally, they are still coming anyway.
They'll find a way. The problem is the cost. The cost of testing. That's the challenge.
And we also don't want to admit that we are pretending to be blocking them. And, and that people can still find their way in. Yeah. So we want to make it look like we have cut them off.
Yeah. So at a point, definitely we can continue to close our borders. Just now, even we have taken a bold step to open our air border. As time goes on, I believe that the technocrats who advise His Excellency the President, and likely the borders, land borders especially, will be open. But like I said, the protocol surrounding land border may be a little complex than
what we have seen with the
air. Yeah. And also, definitely, we may have to positively discriminate in favor of the land border, especially when it comes to the COVID
cost,
the COVID test cost, because for even air, it's only a few people who are frequent travelers, but for land, sometimes you don't take 2 weeks. People are crossing,
going and coming,
and every time he's crossing, he has to, beyond 2 weeks, he has to pay. Yeah, so definitely a special regime
ought to be placed.
Yeah, for the land. Otherwise, it may be open, but it becomes too costly to travel by land.
I'm going to pick international port news. When we come back, we'll summarize and then get their take, the gentlemen, their take and final advice if anybody in policy is listening.
Right.
Citing the Somali Bosaso Port Authority, the European Union Naval Force has confirmed that the Panama-flagged chemical and oil tanker Aegean II was not hijacked off the Horn of Africa earlier in August. It is reported that it is the Gardefoyle police that boarded the 8,100 deadweight tonnage ship and not pirates. The police were sent to inspect the vessel when it was drifting off Bermuda, waiting for technical assistance. On 18th August, EU NAVFOR OHQ Joint Operations Center detected suspicious movement when Aegean II, with armed security guards on board in transit from Sharjah in UAE and bound for Mogadishu in Somalia, altered its course without any apparent reason. Investigations conducted by an EU NAVFOR maritime patrol aircraft, including radio contact, concluded that the vessel was having technical problems and the crew was safe. 3 men have died, while 1 remains missing after a tug involved in the cleanup efforts of the oil spill caused by the Cape-sized bulker Wakashu capsized following a collision with a barge in bad weather. 4 people have been rescued from the water after the collision on Monday night. Sources have revealed that 1 crew member was picked up from the water by a helicopter responding to a distress signal sent out by the 2 vessels after the collision. Meanwhile, local fishermen rushed to the scene in the middle of the night and managed to rescue 3 additional men. The captain of the vessel remains unaccounted for. It is unclear why the 2 vessels were heading out to sea in such weather conditions. Danish-flagged tanker Musketeer has been stuck at sea for almost a month amid a standstill with Maltese authorities that refused to pick up the migrants the vessel rescued from Tunisian waters at the beginning of August. Maltese officials requested a tanker on August 4th to rescue 27 migrants stranded in Tunisian waters. However, ever since, the authorities have failed to provide for disembarkation of the affected people, allowing the vessel to move forward with its journey. The rescued, who include a pregnant woman and at least one minor, have been forced to remain on board Maersk Etienne now for 29 days. Based on the report from BBC, as at the 3rd of September, the migrants are sleeping on the tanker's decks. Harvey Gulf International Marine, the New Orleans-based LNG-powered PSV owner and LNG bunkering pioneer, has reached a new milestone with its fleet. The company noted that it became the first and only company in America to own and operate a tri-fuel vessel, as well as a vessel bunkering facility selling both diesel fuel and LNG. Harvey completed the installation of a Wärtsilä battery power system on the PSV Harvey Energy. The PSV was already a dual-fuel vessel capable of fully operating on LNG or diesel, making it a tri-fuel vessel. At the same time, Harvey commenced operations at its new diesel bunkering facility in Port Fourchon, Los Angeles, pairing it with Harvey's LNG bunkering operations there. Japanese shipping company NYK Line, Classification Society, Class NK, and power systems provider IHI Power Systems recently signed a joint research and development agreement to put the world's first ammonia fuel tugboat into practical use. The companies will proceed with R&D from both technical and operational aspects for the introduction of ammonia as a marine fuel for tugboats. Within the R&D project, NYK will be responsible for the research and design of hull and fuel supply system, as well as the verification of operation method. Furthermore, IHI Power Systems will provide its expertise when it comes to the research and design of engine and exhaust gas after treatment devices. In addition, Class NK will be responsible for the safety assessment of ammonia fuel tugboat.
Okay, welcome back. So now that we have the airport open, my panelists are saying that we should quickly have the seaports also open because they don't see the reasons for the seaport to be closed while we have the airport open, because not much is going on around the seaport when it comes to passengers. Nana, what else do you think that ought to be taken into consideration now that the passenger side has been open for you to do business? What else should be put in place for business to quickly pick up and the country to reap the benefits thereof?
Thank you very much. But before I go to the airport, talking about but technically the sea borders have never been closed. So you keep saying that.
No, to passengers. I mean, yes, the passengers.
To passengers, essentially for
and then
crew.
The crew. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Because
and even with the crew, like we're saying, there had been some processes that one could have gone through to just assess if you so needed to be to do the changes.
Right.
The Ghana Maritime Authority and the Ports Authority put something together, and that was being observed. Elsewhere, it wasn't like that. So maybe it's the best time to pick this story. Some people are here were getting mental difficulties, mental problems, crew members on board, because they had been kept on the seas for too long. Wherever they go, they say they won't pick them. They won't allow them to go and exchange. But here, along the line, GMA and the Port Authority, they put something together and the procedures came. Let's listen to that quickly.
The seafarer community is in the midst of a mental health crisis due to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the seafarers' welfare and that of their families. The latest edition of the Seafarers Happiness Index, SHI, published by the Mission of Seafarers, shows the SHI is a barometer of the key issues facing those at sea today, and the latest report for the second quarter of 2020 reflects the responses from crew members globally against the backdrop of global crew change crisis precipitated by COVID-19. The report said the continuing decline of happiness at sea was largely due to the inability of seafarers to sign off and return home. Heavy workloads, virus fears, and the perceived lack of COVID-19 precautions on board vessels are exacerbating the decline in satisfaction.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. The people were unhappy, seafarers were unhappy, and some were even getting mental problems. That's the part. So if we have all these processes in place, are we saying around this table that it's about time when next His Excellency speaks, the seaport should also be part of the ones that have been officially opened, just like the airport?
I completely support that move, because I mean, there's no reason why they should be still kept the way they are. I mean, once we've already opened the airport, like I'm saying, some of the lessons we learned there can be used to tweak the guidelines for seafarers to be able to come off onshore and then do their stuff.
Okay.
I mean,
Mr. Hammond.
For example, as we said, the harbour area is not for, I would say, ordinary passengers.
Yeah.
It's only for the crew.
Yeah.
You understand? So, and already you've seen that there are processes for which they pass through and do an exchange. And I know seafarers who have done this exchange. So it is being done.
We should just hear from the president.
We just have to just put a seal of approval on it, because there aren't any passengers like, if you are not a seafarer, you won't come by sea.
Yeah.
You understand? We don't have the infrastructure for that. So for me, they will just have to advise the president so that he gives the seal of approval, and we know that our air and seaports are open. And then now we focus on land, which is where the challenges are.
Yeah. So what difference will it make if we hear from him put that seal on it? From now that we haven't heard from him and we are assuming that the processes are making it happen. If he comes publicly to announce it, what difference would that make?
Yeah, because for example, if the president has not announced it, and like I'm telling you, people are moving. So somebody will say, it means that and they telling us the truth? Because people are, president said he's not lifted it, but people are going and coming.
Yeah.
So if it is happening, and you also have read the protocol, it's just a normal protocol, just like the airport. They also fill pens and fill papers. So, and then I was saying that when they come and they are in the ship, they will go there and take their samples.
Yeah.
So I believe that the president, His Excellency the President, can give that seal of approval to what already is happening, and then we focus on land.
Okay.
Which is the big issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Nana?
Yeah, I believe it shouldn't even take the next announcement, I mean, the address by the president before it's done. The president can still, in writing, allow them, I mean, consultation with Maritime Authority and GAPOA, I mean, put his seal of approval on the measures that they are put in place for seafarers to have their freedom restored back to them. Because it's not like you're allowing the general public.
Yeah.
This is a specialized area.
Yeah.
So an announcement to the, I mean, the whole nation wouldn't be what they would require to be able to start operating normally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, give us, now you are back to business at the port. Brokers are getting back at the airport.
Yeah.
Brokers are getting back. Any difficulties around there? You have a minute and then I end it.
Well, the business of, freight forwarding at the airport has been closed down for this length of time, 5 months, 8 days, and it's been reopened. If you heard the aviation minister, it costed Ghana Airport Company, they lost over 500 million Ghana cedis over the period. That's on the government side. Most of the operators at the airport are private organizations. Custom house agencies that run in the airport. They've also suffered almost similar consequences, but nobody is coming to our rescue or to our aid to say that there's a package for you. I think it's about time that government, through the aviation ministry, transport,
package for the freight forwarders who operate there?
Yes, the businesses that operate in the airport area, because their business were virtually running at 10% over the whole 5-month period. Things like accumulated rent and things like that, there should be a package because it's still the government agency. Our landlord is Ghana Airport Company.
Yeah.
And the rest of them, they should look at mitigating the difficulties that we are going through. Yeah. Rent can be maybe slashed or, terms can be agreed on to ease the burden on us. The parking tolls, ironically, parking tolls have been increased in this period of reopening. There was a surcharge.
But what was the argument for the increase?
Because they've mounted a new system. They've improved the system, so that's it. But that shouldn't be the case where we've suffered, almost a 5-month, partial lockdown. The burden is on managers and business operators there, so that should be considered. Okay. Again, there was a certain surcharge that was imposed on us by airport terminal operators, a certain $19 per airway bill called, COVID, import cargo surcharges on COVID. All of these things should probably be looked at and see how we can lessen the burden on business operators there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hammond, would you want to use 10 seconds to finish up something you want?
Yes, I just want to advise that people should really not have too much high expectations this year. This year, virtually we've lost a year.
When it comes to trade?
When it comes to trade, we've lost it. And then the aviation industry is saying that we will take almost 3 years to recover.
Yeah.
You understand? The World Bank also indicates that the global economy definitely will slow down. Some countries have already started going into a recession. And so in that case, it means that governments must respond with stimulus and not austerity. And so that's why I also believe that some of the, I'm not an economist, but I believe that this is the time to really give out to support businesses. Yeah, it's very, very important to support businesses. And excuse me, from what we come from, it's not about politics, because that's the time where your people are all down.
Yeah.
So what again, if you want to squeeze anything out of them, you won't get it again.
Yeah.
So stimulus, supporting the freight forwarder, supporting the
business community
around the airport and all those, so that they can kickstart themselves. Yeah, I think that.
So support for the economic operators, Mr. Ebo Hammond. He's the president of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport Ghana. He's also a director of the Ghana Health Service. Also, Nana Fredua Uforiata is Executive Secretary Committee of Freight Forwarders, Forwarder Association, SCOFA, and Chairman Customs Brokers Association of Ghana, Cuba, Kotoka International Airport. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. God willing, we'll see you same time next week. Thanks for watching.